Hey guys, nothing bullshit here and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing alright. Been a while, been a long while. I haven't made a video in probably like 2 months. I have made videos, but I just haven't uploaded any of them. Maybe I will eventually. Or maybe I'll just recreate them when I start again. But today we're going to be talking about a topic about classic Monster Hunter, going back to the basics. Let's get into it. So the thing that inspired this video was actually watching Henry. He made a video on this topic and it was really cool. It was really interesting. Someone I followed for quite a while as someone who loves GU, as I do. He understands the essence of GU. He was talking about how he hopes that Monster Hunter does go back to the basics of, you know, less wire bugs, less arts, mantles, clutch claw, all that stuff. You know, just basic. You hit a monster, you craft armor, done deal. I just want to talk about that in this video. So I think he has a lot of good points, and I think it's a really good idea. I mean, it's something that we've heard from a lot of people. A lot of people say they want to go back to basics, and some people say. Normally, when I've heard a lot of people talk about that, they've normally said going back to basics as they're talking about world. When world isn't basics technically. Basics would be something like 3U, or even before that. Monster Hunter 2, Monster Hunter 1. Even Monster Hunter 4U, even though that did have mountain, and mountain can be seen as not just basic. They definitely added more as each iteration comes. 3U came in water combat, 4U came in mountain and climbing, GU came in art styles, various of things. In the world came in with mantles and clutch claw, and then we have Rise, which came in with trick skills, wire bugs, and wyvern riding, which is the 3 main things. So as the games go on, they do add more. And as he was saying in the video, definitely the core functionality of Monster Hunter is there. You hunt a monster, you grind the armor, that stuff is still there. But definitely, yeah, it has been, as many more layers have been added on, the basics of what people probably love a Monster Hunter isn't the core focus, as we have so many other elements on top. And I have thought about this before, and I'm not sure what the answer is, because for people like me, one of the things I didn't like about World, and I was disappointed when it came to World, was playing GU and GU having art, styles, all of this cool stuff that I love, stuff that made it my favorite Monster Hunter. Sunbreak is a very, very close second. I'm loving playing Sunbreak right now more than ever before. Actually, I didn't like that they stripped it back. There's going to be some people like me who like more. Maybe we don't need everything. Maybe we don't need to be able to use art as much as we can in Rise, but I would still like something new, something cool, something different. Definitely, since it's a long series and we can't always have the same game with just different monsters and some monsters coming in and out. I think they need more. It can't just be new. Same game, but new graphics and just different monsters. There has to be more added and more to the game. But for some people, that's exactly what they want. They want the classic Monster Hunter. And I'm not sure how Capcom do that. I'm not sure how they satisfy both at the same time. Because World obviously didn't associate people like me. And Rise and Sunbreak definitely is going to have some issues with people who don't want the new stuff. They just want the basics. Some people might say, yeah, well, do like spin-off games and all this blah blah blah. But well, Rise isn't a spin-off game, but in the same generation, it's a different idea, right? Like, this is what we've been doing. Like, for you, I know people say the portable team and then the main team. I guess we'll just say that for now. Even though I don't think it's that easy. They're kind of all the same team from what we heard from Gaijin Hunter. They just kind of alternate who works on what, but it's still one big team working all on the same product. We have 4U and we have GU, right? GU was more experimental, more stuff added, while 4U, I guess you could say, is more grounded. World is more grounded. Rise is, has all the experimental stuff and all the arts and all that stuff. So that's what they're doing so far. And, some people still, they want classic Monster Hunter. Now, obviously, I don't know, maybe Capcom just need to port the old Monster Hunters and HD res them. Like when 3U came to Wii U, it was 1080p, it was 60 frames per second, it was a beautiful running game. Maybe we need stuff like that, but even higher res, so people who want that classic Monster Hunter can go back to the classics. But is that enough? Maybe they want more monsters. Maybe they want like how much is more mechanics? How much can you have and still have the basics? And when I start thinking over this stuff, I start thinking maybe we're getting misconstrued again. I remember I did topics about difficulty and grind and all this stuff ages ago about Rise, and I think I nailed it on the head so many times, where I would say a lot of the issues that people have, it's not that they have issues with these new ideas. I think new ideas in general are great and beautiful, and it can add so much new things. I mean, there's so many new ideas that the games have had that no one talks about, right? Like, I mean, there might be small ideas, but no one talks about them. Like, craft many things at once, being able to climb, being able to, what's it called? Swim in certain games. You know, people complained about how the combat was implemented, but I think people loved the idea about it. Like, new mechanics inherently aren't bad, and I don't think adding new mechanics to Monster Hunter will be bad for the series going forward. I think it's just how they do it and how far they push it. For example, Rise added a lot of new mechanics. It had Rive Riding, it added wire bugs, it added Rampage, it added a lot of new things, switch skills, it added like huge amounts. Combat weapons have been changed altogether. The game has so much there that they've added to this one game. This is beautiful, it's great, and it's amazing. But of course, there's going to be some people who love the basics that don't see the basics in that, which is fine. But I don't know how developers create new games then and also balance with the old in that situation. And unless we can come to a consensus that maybe the games need to be balanced a bit better overall in how the gameplay interacts, the gameplay interacts with the user, like how they interact with it, how immersive it is, and not just if it's grounded or not. I think it's even deeper than that. I think it being grounded or not is just a base overall level that we may feel, but I think there's layers underneath that into why we like the basic. Why is that basic interesting? Because there's many games out there which are basic, even so much basic at the Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is quite in depth when you think about it. There's games that are so much basic, but you know, people don't love or like those games for a reason, right? Because it's not about if it's a game's basic or not. It's much more than that. So I think Monster Hunter can still keep that feeling for people and still add new things. It has to be, it's possible. 100% it's possible. We can see how games innovate and change throughout series. For example, Zelda, a game series that changed dramatically in every game, maybe because the core of the games are different, but generally it changes every game. And as the games change, people do love some more than others, but overall, most Zelda fans are happy about all the changes. We can go to Breath of the Wild, which is one of the most recent ones, well, is the most recent one, where they messed up with no dungeons, and that was a big thing for people who love that game, Zelda series. It was a bad decision, of course, on their end, but adding all of the other things they added didn't take away from the love of the series. The issue with that one was because he has no dungeons. Trying to relate that to Monster Hunter, what I mean is that we can still have the core, but also add on top and still have a beautiful overall package. It's just how we get there. I'm not sure on the overall answer, to be honest. Ideally, I don't think it would be amazing for Monster Hunter to go back to how it used to be, like Monster Hunter 1 or 2. I don't think that would be good for the series. I don't think, for me at least, it wouldn't be as fun. I want it to move forward. I want it to keep on move forward, but limit stuff a bit. Not enabling people to use Y bugs as much. Maybe not allowing, well, I mean, there won't be Y bugs, but you know, just arts in general. Decrease how often they can use arts. Decrease how often they can mount a monster. You know, one big thing actually I remember that I was going to talk about in the video we talked about was actually how, you know, we add a new mechanic and then a monster gets a new mechanic, which, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's generally what happens in games. And some people have an issue with this, and I'm not really sure why people have an issue with this, because it is true, yeah, you know, a monster's getting a mechanic because, you know, someone else has got a mechanic, but I think that kind of makes sense, right? That's how things kind of work. Obviously, you can't just add a mechanic to the user and not give it to the adversaries, because then the user will be overpowered. But it could be similar in another way, where you give a monster a mechanic that the user doesn't have, and people might not enjoy it because it feels unfair that the monsters can do that. For example, let's say we're going back to 4U, and you're fighting Magnamalo. That Magnamalo would run through everyone, basically. I don't think there's even a way you could an average person, even a good person, could defeat Magnamalo, because he would be dashing all around you and you could barely move in that game. he would grab you. There's no Y bug. As soon as he grabs you, you're dead. If you can't shield that or iframe through it, you're dead. You're just dead, like instant death, basically. I don't think that would be great either, for most people. Some people might like that, but that's how game development normally work when it comes to adding new features, right? Now, I think that the fine lining is, does it seem fun enough? Does it seem impactful enough and interesting enough what they've added for the user and added for the NPC to be against the user? Because it's a natural thing. This is going to be theoretical, but I want you guys to try follow me on this one. Let's say Monster Hunter didn't have the skill guard up in the first place. It didn't have the skill guard up. It didn't have the skill called guard. Nothing like that. I'm not sure if this is the case in the first Monster Hunter, by the way, but let's say it didn't. You could always guard everything. It's fine. You didn't need any skill called guard up to stop attack. You didn't need guard up to do unblockable things. You could just do whatever you wanted. And then they added it a bit later, and by adding it later, they also needed to add levels to the monster of what you can guard, what you can't guard, and how much attacks impact your stamina, your guard, and your HP. In that situation, would people call that, just adding a mechanic and then giving a monster a mechanic to impact that mechanic? Is that a bad thing? I would say no, that makes sense, right? Why should he just be able to guard everything so easily, right? It's a nice correction of what could be, and it makes a lot of sense. It can add to the gameplay flavor. Well, because if you're playing a shielded weapon, having guard makes sense. It makes you more stable. It makes it not so free. It also balances skills and how skills work, and also unblockable. It makes it so there's some moves that are more dangerous than other moves. So you have to learn what monsters you need unblockable for, and what monsters you don't. So it actually it adds a deeper level just by adding that mechanic. Even though the monsters have a mechanic to counteract your mechanic, that is pretty much in every single game. Stuff like that is in every single game. You might not see it on the surface, but it's in every single game. Even if a game's in beta and they're still developing it, they don't just have all the ideas in one and be like, okay, this is the idea, put out. No, they're developing the game. They come up with new ideas and they're, oh, let's add this new idea in during development. And then they might figure out, okay, we need to add something for the NPCs to counteract that. We can't just add it. I don't think it has to be the case where just adding a new mechanic is automatically, and them adding something to the computers to counteract that doesn't automatically make it something bad. I think there's more to that. It's if people can buy it, if they think it's engaging enough and it's interesting enough. If it's the case that people feel like the Y bug and the dynamic of stuff against the Y bug is that they're just adding it for the sake of adding it, then it's either they haven't done a good job in implementing it, or as people, we're very stubborn and we just want to stick to the past, which can be fine. Definitely, if you enjoy the past, that's fine. But it's still something to think about, right? I think that's something really strong to think about, because in that case, then there would be nothing. You couldn't add anything new in these games unless someone would say you're adding it new and you're taking away from something else. Like that, we can't keep the same game all the time. Monster Hunter 6 can't be Monster Hunter 1 with better graphics and better weapons and so on. Maybe once in a while that's great, but I don't think they should do this every series. No, I think once in a while, and I think this actually works. The way that World and Rise worked, I think that can work again. And I think it would work well as long as the games are balanced correctly and the games don't come out as bad as both of them did come out. I think people would be fine with that situation. That was quite a lot, guys. Let me know what you think below. I think I'm quite spot on in this, but I mean, I might be a bit wrong on some things. Like maybe I'm not giving the devil its due. I think I kind of am. I understand fully that people would want, classic Monster Hunter. That makes perfect sense to me. What I'm kind of pointing at is, how do we do that and also enable innovation at the same time without hampering people's experiences? Like that's the dilemma that's there, and I think Capcom are thinking about that, and they're not sure what to do, because this is a long running series. It's over 15 years now with over 10 entries, and what do you do from there? And the player base is very stubborn, and I think that's a problem when it comes to these niche games, where people liked the game for a very particular reason, and if that particular reason gets developed or added onto or something, people's feelings about a game can change entirely. And developers need to be careful on that. Not just Capcom, developers in general. They all need to be careful on how they deal with that. I made videos on that before about they need to be careful going forward and how much they add and how much they don't add. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think below. I'll reply to your comments. I like the video, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.